Hold on, guys. We're getting everything set up here. So we'll get going in a minute. So tonight, guys, oh, by the way, for those of you that not have seen or haven't seen, well, I'm setting the phone up to go live there. There is the Unrivaled. There's the Unleashed. So that way you guys can kind of see the size comparison on those. And I will and basically what that Grunt Tube challenge is going to do. Why is this thing pausing and causing problems? Grunt Tube challenge, for those of you that don't know, if you tuned in and you saw the cow call challenge. So that's kind of the same thing that we do with the Grunt Tube challenge. So I will get off camera a little ways, kind of do some calling, and then you guys will vote what you think is the best sounding Grunt Tube, and we will determine what is the best sounding Grunt Tube for 2018 based on your guys' votes. Now, the one thing I will say, when you listen to these, it really makes a difference if you listen with headphones or like on the computer. Your truck stereo, your vehicle, that will really help you hear the difference, because a lot of these tubes just have a small subtle difference in them. So all right, let's see if that's going to go this time. Hey guys, Utah, looking forward to the reviews on these tubes. Okay, we are live on both channels. So for those of you guys that just joined on Facebook, welcome. Michael Batiste with Elk Calling Academy. You know, the whole purpose with Elk Calling Academy, guys, is basically to shorten that learning curve and help you find success faster in the elk woods. You know, for those of you guys that don't know this backstory, this is going to be my 30th year of chasing elk. I've been extremely blessed to have taken numerous bulls, all on public ground. So Jairus, Bob, how you doing, guys? So, okay, let's get into it. So I was asked if I would talk about two things. And of course, just like always, guys, feel free to put your questions in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube. I am monitoring both. And you know what? We'll just kind of go and as long as questions are rolling in, we'll answer. Bob, I may be an old timer, but I will never catch up to you. So you always have the lead on me, buddy. But that's okay. So Brady, welcome. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about tonight is glunking. You know, it's one of those things that I don't think a lot of people really understand what glunking is, what the purpose of it is, what's happening. So basically, in a nutshell, what glunking is glunking is a bull that is scent checking the air. Okay, he's checking the air to see if that cow is in estrus. That's how he knows it's time to breed the cow. The cow doesn't really make any sounds when she's in estrus. She emits a pheromone, and you know that pheromone is what that bull is checking when he's glunking. And what he's doing is he's grabbing air and basically sucking it back in, and he's checking that air, and it's gloom, gloom, gloom. So Mr. Bach, welcome. Warren, welcome. Mr. Calvo, how you doing, bud? So, okay, so how can you replicate glunking? Okay, with the end of the tube, so take your hand and you want to roll your fingers back so you have a flat palm, Okay. So that's basically glunking. I mean, it's not a perfect exact match. You can also do it on a diaphragm reed. If you're doing it on a diaphragm, you're basically saying wick, 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 and through that tube. Mr. Michael, welcome from the Oregon coast. So, you know, can glunking, is it effective? Can you use it in your setups? Yes, it's another realistic sound that you can add into your setups, especially if you are in your calling routine. If you're painting the picture of a breeding sequence, which is a cow that's in estrus and this bull is tending to this cow, glunking adds realism into that setup. So it can be a very, very effective call to add, but it's just like kind of specialty calls. It's not something that you want to do all the time. So, and you'll hear bulls do it, you know, when they're coming into your setup, especially if you're focusing on cow calls only, you know, this bull will be coming in and glunking. You'll hear that. Bryce from Idaho, welcome. Todd, British Columbia, Canada, north of the border. Welcome, eh? Sorry, I couldn't help myself. So yeah, that's basically glunking, you know, in a nutshell. So, you know, you can, if you want to hear the sound more, you can go to YouTube and type in, you know, bull out glunking or something like that. Pull that video up and kind of listen to the sound, and then play with hitting your palm. You know, if you have a tube that has more of a flared end, it gives more of that hollow whoomp. And yes, guys, this is the new Unrivaled tube. So that just gives you a little idea about glunking. All right. You know what? Before we go into the next topic, just to show you guys, Unrivaled, Unleashed. Last year's, this year's. Sound difference. That's the Unleashed. Here's the Unrivaled. There's not a huge difference between the two. Michael, now, do you have any advice for some less talkative Roosevelts? Yes. So, Mr. Calvo, yes, that was the Marco. And before you guys ask, no, I haven't received any more in. I'm still being told Marcos are on the way. Trust me, guys, I want them as bad as you do. Okay. Before we go on to the next subject, Michael, Roosevelts. It's not that Roosevelts are less talkative. It's Roosevelts live in thick vegetation. Okay. And vegetation knocks down the sound. So the thicker the vegetation, the less that is going to, the less that their bugle and their sounds are going to travel. So you have to be closer to them. You know, when you're trying to locate, you may find, Bernie, send me one. Okay. Mine just showed up today. Oh, the excitement. Brad, you must be talking about the Unrivaled. So, Eric Endeavors, who makes the Marco? The Marco is actually a call that myself and Travis, the owner of Wapiti River Outdoors, combined and conjoined on, kind of built based on my specs. Travis added a little bit of his magic to it, and that's how we came up with the Marco. But yes, Wapiti River Outdoors is the company that produces the Marco for us. So, all right. I know I'm chasing rabbit holes tonight, guys. Sorry. Roosevelts. So you just have to be closer to them. I mean, they're still vocal, they're still bugling, they're still rutting. I mean, elk are elk. They still have the same rut. They still have the same behaviors. The difference is a heavy vegetated area versus a more open area. The more open area, that sound's going to carry farther. So that's why, hunting Rocky Mountain elk, it's typically, not as dense vegetation as it is, especially like on the coastal range with the coastal Roosevelts. So we can hear bulls from farther away. We can locate from farther away. Roosevelts, if you can get up on elevated positions, you're going to hear better at the elevated. And then, that's when it's ultra important that once you have a bull located, that you pinpoint where he's at, that you find some sort of landmark that when you move in, you have that landmark that you can see. I actually have been invited to come to Oregon next year and hunt Roosevelts. So I'm really excited for the opportunity to, get over there and, really gain a lot more experience and a lot more knowledge with, calling in Roosevelts. And so, that way I can really give you guys a lot more personal information based on those experiences. But I know a lot of guys, talk to a lot of guys, they still have really, really good bugling action, but they all say the same thing. You gotta cover a lot of ground, and you gotta be close to them. So, okay. A couple of others. Been wondering if the new tube sounds good. No, Jason, there really isn't a huge difference. Really, the only difference that you hear is on the bottom end, and it's just a slight difference. It's not that big a deal. Unleashed tube for locating and firing up the bulls, and then unrivaled for close and calling. You certainly could, Anthony, but the thing with the unleashed tube or the unrivaled tube, your biggest thing with locating is getting onto that high pinging tone that's going to carry. So, and you can do that with both of them. If you guys notice on the unleashed, I did cut the flared end off. This one on the unrivaled, I still have the flared end, but I actually bought two of them. The other one I did cut the flared end off and still playing with that. So, Mr. Calvo, what's your thoughts on calling at night to locate bulls? I absolutely love night calling. I think night calling is a great way to locate bulls for the next day. Or even if you get up early in the morning, I'll do night calling one of two ways. Way number one is when I get back to camp in the dark at the end of the day, change out of my camo, into my camp clothes, get my dinner, eat my dinner, and then I will go to elevated positions to where I can call down into multiple different canyons and cover ground. So there I will locate. If I have a bull that responds, that's it. I don't sit there and continue to call it in. You have to be all you're doing is location bugle. That's it. You're not getting fancy. Your main sorry guys, your main purpose here is to get a response. As soon as you get a response, shut up, get out of there, come back in the next morning. Second way I will do it is I will come back to camp. I'll eat my dinner. Immediately to bed I go, and then I'm up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I get my camo on. I get, my pack's already ready because I get my pack ready the night before. It's in the truck. Everything's in the truck. I get in the truck and I start driving roads. I will stop and bugle up into canyons. If I get a response up in a canyon, I will basically find a place to park the truck, put the pack on, and start working my way up that canyon. Brian, thanks, buddy. Best of luck to you guys as well. I hope you guys have a successful year. So, now granted, yeah, got up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, but are you willing to jeopardize a little bit of sleep to locate a bull and know that there is a bull there? Now I start working up the canyon towards him. I'm not trying to get right in tight with him. I'm just trying to close the distance a little bit. If I can get to where I'm 500, 600, 700 yards away from him, keeping the thermals in my favor. I'm listening to him, paying attention to where he's going. Because, that last little bit right there, as soon as it gets light enough that you can see well, it doesn't take much time to cover that ground, get in, get set up, establish contact, and start working that bull. Okay. You could have a bull down really early, break him down, and then you're back at camp by 10 o'clock. Okay. So yeah, you sacrificed a little bit of sleep, but now you have a bull on the ground and you're back to camp early. Okay. Say you get in on that bull and you work him and no shot opportunity. He ends up going to bed. You know what? So you sleep on the mountainside. You take a nap on the mountainside. So my approach is when the elk go to bed, I go to bed. So even though I sacrificed sleep and got up early, I know I'm going to have a dang good nap on the mountainside. So, okay. We saw a couple here. What about the bull that answers your locate call, then gathers his cows and leaves? How do I get in close on him? Or how do I get him to play? Well, I need a little bit more of information, Brady. How far were you from the bull? Because the thing you guys need to understand is in the thing that we teach in our private lessons is there are passive calls and there's aggressive calls. There are distance calls and then there's close proximity calls. Okay. A lot of mistakes people make is, they will do some calls. They'll get a response back from a bull that's a passive response, but they don't recognize that. And all of a sudden they're going too aggressive. Or they locate a bull, they move in, they get set up, and they're doing distance calls again. Elk don't do that. So they have certain calls that are for communicating at a distance, and they have sounds that are communicating for when they're up close. You can't mix them. Now, basically, if you're set up and trying to work a bull and, you're set up too far away, okay, the bull has the fight or flight option. If you're set up too far away, he's going to choose flight unless he's in the right mindset. But if you set up close enough to that bull, you've eliminated the flight option and you've only left him with the fight option. So that's why setups are extremely critical. Calvo, does this work pre-rut like September 1 to September 9? Yes, because September 1 to September 9, we're kind of in that pre-rut time frame where bulls are bugling quite a bit, establishing their pecking order, and they're also rounding up their cows, getting ready for the rut. So the fact that they're in that pre-rut mindset of establishing pecking order, establishing dominance for the cows, night bugling, especially since it's hot, that first part, they tend to be a little bit more vocal at night. So that's why sometimes it's easier at the start of the season to find them when you're out night bugling, then you know where they are. Mountain Savage, new sub here, been watching your videos, love the content. Saw you were live, so I had to sub and check this out. Mountain Savage, welcome. Glad you can make it. So, all right, I've got my eyes on a few max score. It might be 300, but that's a monster for me. You know what, Michael? 300, that's a great bull. And here's the deal, guys. We've heard it before that the trophy is in the eye of the beholder. Okay. And I'm gonna throw a quote at you guys that is my favorite quote from Fred Bear. A hunt based solely on trophies alone falls far short of what the ultimate goal should be. And I think so many people nowadays are so focused on what does this bull score? How big do you think he is? Or this or that. We see it all the time on social media. Everybody wants to throw a picture out there and have everybody score it. How many times do you guys see people post a picture, a grip and grin with a spike, but it's the first bull they've ever taken and they're completely elated with that? They are over the moon excited and proud about the accomplishment that they went out with a bow and arrow, called in a elk, and harvested it with a bow and arrow? When did we become so critical that we have to look down on people like that? Plus, what about the whole entire journey throughout the hunt? What about seeing that sliver of daylight crack on the ridge and hearing the forest come alive, and enjoy your sights and sounds around you, the smells around you, enjoy the camaraderie with your friends, enjoying nature, the beauty in it, the amazement at these animals that we're hunting. So 300 inch, that's a monster for you. 300 inch is a monster for a lot of people. A 250 is a monster for a lot of people. A spike is a monster. A cow. Here's the thing. If you have a bull coming in and your heart starts pounding and your breath starts speeding up, that elk is big enough, because it got your adrenaline raised and it got your excitement level raised enough that is your trophy. Be proud in that moment. All right. Is it best to just use locates at night, or should these be mixed up with a few cow calls with a locate to make it sound like a small herd? Absolutely not. Just focus only on the location bugle, because that's all you're trying to do is locate from a distance and have a bull crack off. The reason is you start mixing in cow sounds or other type of bugles, there's a chance that if that bull is fairly close to you, he may come in, he may catch your scent. And then some of the sounds that you did, or maybe if you were only doing one pitch range of cow calls, he's going to associate that with a human. And then because he comes in, he may go silent and go back in the drainage up over the top and drop into the next one over. Now you come back in there the next morning because you messed with him thinking there's elk in there. He left. Now you don't have elk in there. That's the whole purpose of night bugling, is just to locate an elk. So, all right. Brady, thank you for the info. You bet. Jairus, I'm proud of my spikes. Hey, spikes eat really, really well. They absolutely do. Some nice tender steaks. Any advice for us that are fairly new to Colorado elk DIY archery hunt? Robert, the best advice that I can give you if you're new to hunting is gain as much knowledge about elk, their behavior, kind of what they do through the rut cycle, their vocalizations. Just gain as much knowledge as you possibly can. I mean, that's a cool thing, guys. Right now, you have so much access to so much knowledge, and you have a lot of great guys out there that have a lot of great knowledge, that are willing to share that knowledge. Go listen to, different people. I think it's great that you guys tune in and you listen to me and you interact, and trust me, I love it. And I'm extremely thankful. If you have an opportunity to listen to Corey Jacobson, listen to him. Chris Rowe, Chris really understands the biological aspect of elk. He's a great one to learn the biological side from. Paul Medell, Joel Turner. There are a lot of very good, accomplished elk hunters out there that have good knowledge that's willing to share it. Take that to your guys' advantage. Gain as much knowledge as fast as you can, and that knowledge is going to really shorten your learning curve and contribute to your success faster and faster and faster. So Mountain Savage, completely agree. It's about the experience and the hard work, not about the trophy. Preach it, Michael. Being out in nature is why I hunt. Filling a tag is a bonus. I love hearing that, guys. That's the right mindset. In fact, my daughter, one of my daughters, she's 16. 3 years ago, we were on a turkey hunt and we were taking a break. We were on the tailgate of the truck. And I asked her, you have yet to harvest a turkey. You've been hunting for 3 years. What is it that gets you up each morning and gets you coming back for more and more? And she basically said, it's hearing the forest come alive. It's quiet when we first get out here, and then hearing everything alive. And I'm like, my gosh, this 13-year-old girl understands it, where a lot of grown adults have no clue and missing out on so much. So, all right. Any elk with a bow is a trophy. Amen. Okay. If you were on a 7-day hunt and haven't had any luck getting responses, is it realistic to night call every evening. Andrew, it really depends on what you're seeing. So if you're seeing fresh sign and you know elk are in the area, then yeah, night calling, night call as much as you can. Sacrifice that sleep until you locate a bull and get it down. Now, if you're not hearing anything and you're not finding fresh sign, elk aren't there. Pack up camp, get in the truck, drive 10, 20 miles to the next drainage, change locations. So if there's no elk in the area, if you're not seeing fresh sign, you're not going to hear anything. So you just need to relocate. Any elk with a bow is a trophy. Sighting a bull is a successful trip. Hearing one screaming is the best. Absolutely. Having interaction with them, that's just so cool. Matt, see you in Mexico. Amazing books to read for more info. Jamie, you're exactly right. You guys can do a Google search, elk behavior or all about elk or this or that. Dr. Valerius Geist has written several books that has some really great information on elk. So there's a lot of resources to get information, guys. I've been planning for a year for my first upcoming elk hunt. I'd be happy just seeing an elk. You know what? Wish you the best of luck. What state are you going to? You can't eat antlers. No, you can't. But they're still kind of cool to look at on the wall. So, I've got some racks hanging on the walls that aren't trophies by any means in some people's eyes, but the uniqueness of them. I have one hanging on the wall that is a 5x5 that is from Montana. He was living in an old burn. That day when I got onto him, there was probably a dozen bulls in there were screaming. But the cool thing is I shot him October 8th in Montana. He has dried velvet on his antler. It's not something you see every day. So, Kootenai, British Columbia. I haven't hunted BC, so I can't give you a lot of information. But pretty much if it's Rocky Mountain elk, just study their behaviors. Their behavior has pretty much been, pretty consistent in the different states that I've hunted. You may have some slight variations and differences in how they act. Times of the year that things happen. But definitely learn all that you can. And like I said, best of luck on that hunt. Would love to hear stories afterwards. In fact, all you guys, I'd loved hearing stories. So, I know we're coming up really, really quick on season. We're 22 days away, actually 21 days in a wake up here in Idaho. So it's coming quick. Love to hear your guys's, stories, see pictures, especially if there's anything that you've gained from any of these Q&As. I know we have quite a few students that jump on these that I've worked one-on-one with. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. So near Elkford, thanks. You bet. So, okay. Another thing I was asked about was rain. Does rain affect elk and will they still continue to rut? It really depends on how heavy the storm is, how heavy the rain is. I mean, obviously, if it's a torrential downpour and it's just dumping, you'll want to get under a tree and just kind of ride that storm out. You don't necessarily want to be, because they're going to be holed up also. But the other thing is if it's a real loud rain hitting, it's going to be really, really hard to see. Plus, the other thing to consider is if you do get a shot opportunity and you zip an arrow through that bull, that heavy rain is going to wash away your tracks and your blood really, really quick. And your chances for losing that animal really go up exponentially. So if it's a light drizzle, though, I've stayed out there and hunted. The elk continue to rut. They continue to do their normal things. So depending on the rain, how heavy it's going, those will be the determining factors, whether you hunker under a tree or keep pushing on. Now, the other thing is we've been there, we've been lying in our tent or whatever, and we've heard the rain, and it sounds like it's just an absolute downpour. So, we basically go, you know what? It's raining really hard. I'm just going to go ahead and stay in my sleeping bag. Get your butt out of bed. At least walk out the tent to see how hard it's raining. Also, take a look at the sky. You may be on the tail end of the cloud, and it's going to clear in 15 minutes or whatever. So by the time you get your stuff together, get to the trailhead or whatever, that rain has stopped. Now, granted, you're walking through a wet forest, wet brush, this and that. That's where maybe some rain pants or maybe a set of gaiters can really, really help. So, all right, where Jairus Nelson, 16 days for Oregon. Jairus, actually, my first lesson tonight, your name came up. So sounds like as a guy you're going to be hunting with kind of last weekend August and first little bit of September. Jay Cawley here in Idaho. When in September is best to call in elk with just cow calls. So Jay, you can call in bulls throughout the whole entire rut cycle with just cow calls. It just depends on what type of bull or what type of classification, you're kind of going after. Because really, from the pre-rut, the start of the season, all the way through, there's always satellite bulls that are cruising, looking for cows that will come in fairly easy to just cow calls. Now, I'm kind of curious, Jay, why you're just asking about cow calls only. Do you have a hard time with bugling, or, can you not bugle on a diaphragm reed? There's things you can do out there. There's bugle tubes that have mouthpieces on them that you can bugle really, really well and easily on and be effective. So now, by no means am I telling you need to just scrap the cow calls only and go into bugles. So, because really we're out there doing what we can to call in a bull, and he's only going to come in for one of two reasons. It's either looking for love or looking for a fight. Okay. When they come in looking for love, they're extremely cautious. They're very aware of their surroundings. They're looking around. Any movement, anything out of place, they really, really pick that up. But if you can raise the aggression level with them through bugles, certain aggressive type sounds, you get them to the point where they want to fight, and they come in either stiff-legged postured, or they come in like a freight train. And if you've ever had a bull come barreling down on you, looking for a fight like that freight train, it is such a huge, heart-pounding, adrenaline rush type experience. So, but like I said, cow calls can be extremely effective. I know guys that go out year after year and all they do is cow calls. They kill a bull every year. So it definitely can be done. So the thing about it, Jay, is understanding throughout the progression of the rut. Okay, the pre-rut, peak rut, post-rut, understanding the bull's needs and understanding their mindsets. And that's kind of the knowledge that I was talking about in all of our, in pretty much a majority of the lessons, actually all the lessons. I really try to throw in that elk biology, the behavior, and how their mindsets change. So, okay, thought on Flexmark cow calls. Heard they're really good, just can't get them up in BC. The Flexmark is actually a really good cow call. It has really, really good tones. It's very easy to use, very user friendly. You can mix up your pitches. You can do cow sounds. You can do higher pitched calf vocalizations. Flexmark, really good. Vincent, you can actually go to, if you just type in Flexmark cow elk call, you can go to their website directly and order it directly from the website and bring it in. So Jay Cawley, what's the full moon most active at night, and generally the rut picks as well. Thanks for all the info. I really enjoy these Q&A sessions. Shoot straight and good luck. You too, Robert. So I'm the designated caller this season. Jairus, that's what I heard. Scott, hey, Michael, thanks for the help. I'll keep working on it. Look at that. Jairus, I talk about Scott. I didn't mention any names. Now all of a sudden he popped in here. I've been told to just bugle and locate. That's it. Exactly. And it's just the location bugles. Does the full moon change them in the rut? So full moon can have effect on their activity. If it's a bright night, absolutely. They're going to be more active because they can see a lot easier, which means they're going to bed down earlier. But the thing with the full moon, guys, is if that full moon is rising in the middle of the afternoon and setting at 1:35 or 1 o'clock in the morning, you still have a long, dark night that their activity is going to be limited. But on the flip side, if that full moon is rising at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night and not setting until 8 o'clock the next morning, then you have that full moon all night long. So it's not necessarily that you're hunting during a full moon cycle. When is that full moon rising? When is that full moon setting? Those are the things. But also, just because it is a full moon, granted, you're going to see quite a bit of activity right at first light and right at last light. But what about that midday time frame? That bull's going to get restless. He's going to get up. He's going to check his cows. Well, if you just hunt that first hour and then head back to camp until the last hour, you're missing some great opportunities during the middle of the day. So don't rule out spending the time in the field during full moon time. Jonathan Alexander, how you doing, brother? Clint, any recommendations for cold calling? Example, a couple of days, no bugles, lots of sign, cold calling sequence. Clint, that's one thing I teach in my private one-on-one lessons. So the one thing that we do on cold calling setups is we basically do a breeding sequence. So, because that's what those bulls are waiting to hear. They're waiting to hear a cow come into estrus. They're waiting for that certain, sounds to go off because of the herd, because of the bull. That breeding sequence is very, very effective for cold calling. Since I kind of teach that in the one-on-one lessons, guys, I really can't break it down. I hope you guys understand. I have students that pay for these lessons, and it just wouldn't be, fair if I just gave, all this information. If you guys are interested in a one-on-one lesson, remember, you do not have to live in the Boise area. I use Zoom video conferencing, even if you're up in Canada. So we can jump online, get face-to-face with that, and we can go over a lot of this. So, all right. I'm not sure where I heard about this cow call that sounds like an estrus call, but it's a location cow call. Any info on that? You're probably, Anthony, you're probably talking about, you probably heard Joel Turner talking about a regathering call or a regathering cow call. If you really listen to him when he does that sequence of that regathering cow call, it's actually 3 or 4 different cow sounds that are within that sequence that he's doing. So, and it's not really the estrus call. Okay. The estrus call, I've talked about this before, the estrus call, the buzz mew, okay, I assume that's what you're talking about, that buzz mew. I don't think that's a sound that's just associated with estrus. I've heard cows do this in June before, and I know darn well they're not in estrus. So I think it's more of a call that kind of is demanding attention, that's demanding a response, whether that be vocal or physically coming over. So that's just my touch on that one real quick. So full moon equals midday movement. Jairus, stop giving all of my secrets out. So Jay, thanks, boss. Okay. All right. Okay. I also talked about daily food prep. We're going to kind of cover that tonight. And what I mean by that, so right over to the side, you guys can't see it. I have all of my breakfast, all of my dinner meals. I have my midday lunch. I have the green belly meals. I have jerky, trail mix, protein bars, all that stuff. What I'm talking about daily food prep, what I do is usually about the end of July, middle to end of July, I go ahead and order all of my food for the season. You know, I mark on the calendar the days that I'm going to hunt. And then I count how many dinners do I need? How many breakfasts do I need? How many lunches do I need? How many snacks? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all that and I'm going to get gallon Ziploc bags and I'm going to get my daily bags ready. So that way, when I leave here and head to camp, I have a gallon Ziploc bag that has all my food and all my calories for that day in it. So that way, as soon as I get back to camp, because we leave camp in the dark, we come back in the dark. We've been out there all day long. The last thing I want to do when I get back to camp is get out of my camo, get in my camp clothes, get my dinner going, and then get my pack ready for the next day. It's really easy if you have those Ziploc bags. All you got to do is grab that Ziploc bag with your daily food, throw that in your pack, refill your water, your pack is ready for the next day. You don't have to sit there and, you know, get your food ready. So that way you can get into bed sooner and you're ready to go for the next day. So all the prep you guys can do at home will help you maximize your time in camp and maximize your time hunting. So, okay. Past couple of weeks, I've kind of alluded that I have an announcement to make. And now that the contract has been signed, I can throw the info out. I have signed a partnership exclusivity agreement with Carbon TV, which means Elk Calling Academy is going to have a channel on Carbon TV that is going to be exclusive videos that will only be shown on Carbon TV. So if you guys aren't familiar with Carbon TV, definitely go check them out. It's free for you to create an account, and there's some great shows to watch on there. There's hunting shows. I believe we're the first informational, instructional type show that's going to be on Carbon TV. But basically, we are going to have I'm going to kind of dive deeper into the beginner's guide to elk calling. I'm going to refilm kind of the first 6 or 7 chapters of that with some information that was not in the first video. Plus, we actually have kind of some new tools and new props to really help new callers really understand diaphragm reads and where they go. Really how the airflow goes across it, the angle of that read. So it's really, really going to get in depth to really, really help you guys elevate your calling. We're also going to be doing videos on there that are going to be instructional quick tips that may only be a 5 or 10 minute long video, kind of like last Friday where I did the quick tip with the air pressure. It's going to be quick tips like that. But the other cool thing that we can do on there is I can actually do full-blown closed seminars where you guys will have the ability to pay for access, you know, into that seminar and get a little bit more of the information, kind of some of the stuff that I do teach in the private lessons. So there's going to be some really cool information and videos that's going to be over there on Carbon TV. I'm extremely excited for this opportunity. And in fact, first video filming this weekend, filming chapter 1 of the Beginner's Guide to Elk Calling. And basically I've got a couple of more things I need to get those guys to build the channel. So hopefully here shortly, we'll have that channel up and running. The nice thing about that too is I plan on doing some stuff out in the field that will have things that I look for to do out in the field that is primarily just only going to be on that Carbon TV. So guys, go to Carbon TV, get your account set up. Like I said, it's completely free. So thanks guys, really appreciate it. And you know, I wouldn't be able to be here without you guys. So all right, do you hang your pack seeing as how you have food in it? You know, Josh, I don't worry about it too much. I don't really hunt in heavily bear populated areas. If I was hunting in areas that had a lot of bears, that had, grizzlies or this or that, and I was concerned about it, I would still leave my food in the food sack that you have hung up in a tree. And then in the morning, just drop that sack. But still, in the morning, you can drop that sack, just grab one of those gallon bags, throw that in your pack, and it's really, really quick. So biggest thing is just do the prep at home so that you don't have to do it out in the field. Because also when you get back to camp, guys, and you're eating dinner, and that's when you're with your hunting partners, that's where a lot of that camaraderie comes from. Hanging out in camp, talking about the events of the day. What did you see? What did you experience? Especially if, there's 4 guys in my camp, and a lot of times it's 2 and 2. We hunt different places. We don't see each other during the day. So that night when we're eating dinner, we're sharing information with what everybody saw. What did you hear over here? What did you see over there? And, there's some decent amount of kind of joking and harassing each other and just kind of having that fun banter back and forth. So, all right. So upcoming videos. Okay. Friday's video. I went last week and met with Sandy Castor from Blacks Creek Guide Gear, and we talked about basically their whole pack system, their grip frame, their talon frame, their different bags. If you guys aren't familiar with Blacks Creek Guide Gear, be sure to watch this video on Friday. They have a really, really cool system. I've used their pack for years. And in fact, when I left there on Friday, I actually left with this new Blacks Creek pack. It's their new pack for 2018. It's a complete modular system. It's ultra cool, guys. This modular system can go anywhere from 500 cubic inches all the way up to 4,000 cubic inches and everything in between. So really, really cool system. They actually have some new material for packs that is making some really, really lightweight packs. I mean, a 6,000 cubic inch bag that only weighs 2.8 pounds. You put that on your frame, you're just right, barely over 6 pounds. That's huge. So other videos. Now that I have the Unrivaled, I was waiting on that one to show up. So this weekend, I am filming the 2018 Grunt Tube Challenge. That video will go live Friday next week. So it's going to be like I did last year's. I haven't decided all the tubes that I'm going to have in it, but it's going to be 5 to 7 different tubes. I'm going to get off camera. I'm going to be doing several bugles on each. And then it's going to be in your guys' hands to vote for which tube you think sounds the best. So it's based purely off sound. You're not going to be able to see them. So popularity vote is thrown out. You're based on that. So, all right. What do we have here? How many elk hunts do you have planned for this year? Do you video them? So I'm only hunting Idaho this year. There's 4 of us in camp with tags. Yes, we do have video camera. In fact, the new lens just showed up yesterday. I have done kind of some training runs with Lonnie, one of my partners. He's really excited to kind of run the camera. So we will be videoing the hunts. Those hunts are going to be used both as training aids for the website and also, may edit and put me, Stephen James, you're killing me, brother. So, but, we may put some of those hunts together just for enjoyment, just so you guys can kind of, watch the hunts and see how things kind of unfold and this and that. So next year, like I said earlier, I've been invited to Oregon, and Bob Morgan and I are actually talking about meeting up in Montana. So next year may be a three-state elk season. So I'm pretty excited to have the opportunity to meet up with both the guys that have invited me for the Oregon hunt, and also getting a chance to share a hunt with Bob Morgan. For those of you that don't know Bob, he is, I mean, he's just a great guy. One of the most generous and giving guys that I've ever met. He puts others in front of him. So any chance to get an opportunity to share a camp like that, I'm all over it. So that would be cool. I've run out of born and raised outdoor videos, and the others I watched need more for next year. Well, hopefully, good Lord willing, we get things put together and we get some stuff on video that's good quality, and we'll put it together. So, Eric, do you ever hunt over the counter Washington? I have never hunted Washington. Have dinked around in the Blue Mountains a little bit, but have never really hunted Washington. So I know several years back when I was really traveling and doing a lot of seminars, I was in Washington and got a couple of invites and just never jumped on them. So. All right, guys, I think I am out of topics and out of news for this week. So if you guys don't have any other questions, we may wrap this one up. In the meantime, guys, if you think of a question at any time, don't hesitate to get those questions over to me. So I'll definitely, I still have the list. I haven't been pulling questions off the list because I've been getting so many messages and texts from people that, I just kind of decided that, what, I'll just start answering these on here. Larry Davis, are you going after Rosie's in Oregon? Yes, we are. So that is the plan, to go over to the west side of Oregon and hunt Rosie's. Still need to work out, further details on, exactly, what and where and all that information. But yeah, definitely it is going to be on the western side, and it definitely is going to be after Rosie's. So I dig this page. Eric, I dig this page too. I think this is a great page. So, share it with your friends, help us grow. So Bernie, thanks, brother. Is always great job. You know what, guys, this is all about you guys and helping you. So, and like I said, love hearing the stories that you guys, heard a little bit of this or that and applied it out in the field, and it was successful. It just solidifies that I'm not completely full of it, that maybe I do know a thing or two. So, but no, really, I get a lot of enjoyment out of your guys' success. So let's see, Tyler, when do you go antelope hunting? My tag this year opens September 15th and runs to October 25th, I think, somewhere in there. So my plan is hopefully to be all tagged out with elk so that I can take the last weekend in September, last weekend in September, first weekend in October, do some spot and stock for the antelope with the bow. If need be on that second weekend, have to bring the rifle out because my wife has a rifle cow tag that starts October 10th. And then we both have our deer tags that we drew that opens October 10th as well. So for those of you guys that are rifle hunters, I will be filming a little bit of that rifle hunt. So that way you guys can see kind of some of the stuff that I do with calling during a rifle hunt. So always learn new stuff every week. Lucas, appreciate it. So, all right, guys, I think we're there. So once again, appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much for the support. As always, guys, keep calling, keep practicing, but most importantly, have fun. Oops, back up, on hold. If you could only have one elk call with you, what would it be? Ooh. Vincent, let's put that on hold. So just because I have a new call that is new to the market that is being sent to me right now, it is supposed to be a call that you can do cow sounds and bull vocalizations on. I'm really excited to get my hands on this and try it. So, but if I had to choose right now, Vincent, it would be a diaphragm reed. There you go, Marco. So if I could get Marco's in stock. So Anthony, I would be interested in hearing the new Native by Carlton tube with the acrylic mouthpiece on your Grunt tube test. Well, hold on. All right, Anthony, are you talking about this tube right here? I have actually had this tube in my possession for a month and a half, 2 months. So this is the new Native by Carlton Grunt tube. It does have an acrylic mouthpiece on it that is extremely comfortable. So So there you go. That is the Native by Carlton tube. Will it be included in the Grunt tube challenge? Could be. You never know. Can't tell you guys all the tubes in there. That would be cheating. But then, of course, when it's from a distance, it's hard to tell them apart. So, all right. What are your thoughts on cover scents like nose jammer? So, cover scents, scent eliminators. Do I use them? Yes. I use Dead Downwind Scent Elimination System. I've never used the nose jammer products. I do know some guys that do. Here's my take on it, Joaquin, is you are never, ever going to be 100% scent free. But if you play the wind and use the wind in your favor, you will never get smelled. They'll never smell you. You won't have any problems. So the wind is more important than, cover scents. I do know guys that have hung pine wafers and different things off their hat. I used to use cow urine. But the only problem is I'm hiking, trying to hunt throughout the day. All I'm smelling is elk. I'm always smelling elk. So the hard part with using some of that is you can't actually smell real elk when you're right there by them. Plus, a lot of states are starting to outlaw and make liquid cow urine illegal. Idaho just passed it, just a week ago. Not even that. So the reason is, guys, and you need to understand why they are outlawing the liquid cow urine. This liquid cow urine is being shipped from other states, and chronic wasting disease, CWD, is getting transported with this liquid cow urine. So I think it's a great step that they're doing to eliminate it and make it illegal right now, just to keep our herds healthy. Now, you can still use gels and you can use pastes, which if you're going to use paste, check out Hot on the Trail scents. So they have an elk line that looks like a deodorant stick. Some of the best elk scents I have ever used out there. And you don't have to worry about liquids spilling in your bag or in your pack. And you don't have to worry about any of the chronic wasting disease. So, Joaquin, hope that kind of answered your question. Utah, last question for me. When will the Carlton 2 be out, or is it already? It's already out. In fact, if you go to their webpage, the picture I posted the other day of it, I think it actually has the price on there. But yeah, they're available. So I know they're still working with, they're still doing some fine tweaks and this and that. But basically what I just called on is available right now. You guys can certainly pick them up. So, all right, guys. Okay. Keep calling. Have fun, guys. Thanks again for tuning in tonight. A lot of fun as always. Have a great night, and we'll see you guys next week on the next episode of Wapiti Wednesday Q&A, brought to you by Elk Calling Academy. Have a great night, everybody. Oh, have a great night.